Or
Okay, so it says live, and
It probably
it
says
says recording in progress. Oh, wait, just a second. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh,
And then check this out. Okay, there's an order of
It's
operations to
about
all of this.
comics.
Just a second.
do you still have a thing?
Listen to
Oh.
that. Yeah. I'm gonna slowly fade that down. Oh wait, no. Okay. It's coming.
Coming?
It's coming.
Whoa. Why not? Whoa, that's my face.
Hey, Will.
Hi.
Okay, so hey, we're just having some technical difficulties.
Just
Whoa, this roller coaster is out of control already. Wow.
you really wanted to make sure that people knew I was here.
So they're like, oh, look at this guy. Hey,
Like,
everybody,
whoa.
welcome to Comics Place Presents the Perfectly Acceptable episode of the podcast of the Comics Place Presents the Perfectly Acceptable of the podcast, episode 417, a comic book podcast where, you know, a couple buddies who run a comic shop gather together to talk about comic books every week. You've probably grown familiar with some faces that you can reliably see in this situation, okay? And in this situation right now, you are not seeing one of those reliably seen faces. You're not seeing Django Bohren. And Django Bohren is who got us the video assets, the way to do this in a video capacity. And I just don't really know how to do it. So I'm gonna do it without him. But in the meantime, what I've done is called in an emotional support Sherpa. And that emotional support Sherpa is my good friend, William Elmer, along with my good friend, Roman Statler. Hey, everybody, say hi to Will. Hi, Will.
Hello.
I will.
Happy episode 417, Jeffrey, Roman, my friends.
Oh,
Doing great. You're doing great.
Thanks. You know, he just does this thing where he looks, you know, like he's just fluffing around and burping and rolling in a pile of dust, but he's actually like moving things around and making things go smoothly and it all go perfect. So, you know, we miss Django. And what we also miss about Django, especially this week, is that he's not here to talk about what happened, you know, 10, 20 minutes ago, which is the Seahawks going to the Super Bowl.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Roman, I know you are excited.
Biggest Hawks fan there is, Roman
Yeah.
Statler.
Roman Statler.
Sure, I love those C Rams.
C Rams. We did just beat the Rams. Yeah, we just beat the Rams. So that's exciting news, everybody. Seahawks, I know you tune into your comic book podcast so that you can hear about things like the Rams. William, you have a particular task you serve the Comics Place podcast every week. Do you want to let me know, let the listeners know what it is that you do?
What it is that I do? You mean like you
and
know,
how maybe they could contribute if they wanted to?
Well, you know, nearly every week, you know, things happen. But nearly every week I find a bathroom to hide in, to record a voicemail to send in, help these guys remember what episode number it is. And, you know, I like to help ease things in. I like to be a nice lubricant for the conversation.
If nothing else.
With a little question, you know, a little amusing, a thought that comes into my head about the week.
Will Elmer Realtor synonymous with two things.
Yes.
A deep love and reverence for Idris Elba's butthole and being a great lubricator.
You know, my question last week, I think I began with a question about my backlog and ended with a question with talking about Roman's love for going to nudist colonies, and yet Idris Elba never even came up in that.
You know, sometimes we forget about even the cutest of bees. But Will, you send that contribution to the podcast in every week, and I'm very grateful for it. How do you do it, and how could other people contribute if they wanted to?
Well, for now, I think you can email Jeff at thecomicsplace.com, but you guys are working on a new email.
Oh, yeah.
But for now, jeff@thecomicsplace.com. You could send an email. You could send a voicemail. You could just take like a video of yourself. You could try and guess what time this is happening and see if you can FaceTime Jeff. I don't know. Just some ideas I'm throwing out there because these guys love getting questions. They'd rather answer questions than talk about comics, frankly. So
we do, and because of that, we have a contribution from the person who's Will's taken their job of. So he's desperately fighting for his job. But before we get into that, hey Roman.
Hey.
How you doing, bud?
Good.
Hey, listeners, if you're doing this the old-fashioned way and listening to this as a podcast, that's awesome. You can. I would too, maybe. But also, you can listen to it as well as watch it now on YouTube or on our Facebook page. So you can go to the Comics Place's YouTube channel and like it and subscribe it. But yeah, you can watch it, and that's pretty cool too. Let's hear from Django.
Hey guys, I'm in New Orleans, staying on Frenchman Street. Music every 30 feet down here. It's pretty awesome, but what I really wanted to tell you is that number 8.
What?
Existential crisis on an airplane for you. It's not set on an airplane. I just read it on an airplane. And man, those guys use things in a weird way. A man who falls into the gutters of a comic book as an allegory for homelessness, just being lost. 10 out of 10. Hope you're having fun there. I'll bet it's warmer there than it is here. Look at a weather map and you'll appreciate that. It's cold.
Turnips love you guys. Awesome. Thanks, Django. Great to hear from you. Wow.
Great question, Django. Great question.
Yeah, a great question.
What was the question?
There was no question, Roman. That's the great thing about Django is he contributes to our comic book podcast in a lot of different ways.
I just couldn't understand it with that Cajun accent.
Yeah. I think that was just like, he had some beignets in that mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe his question was, what's the last comic book you read on an airplane that gave you an existential crisis?
Oh, yeah. For me, it was the issue of Fantastic Four, the Hickman wrote, where Franklin Richards is dealing with the death of Johnny and Spider-Man's hanging out with him. And I just cried between these two strangers. Just got me. It's good.
I love it.
Hey, Will, one of the things that I love about having you on this here podcast is that you are perfectly representative of a whole human being, a whole normal human being.
Oh, okay. An a-hole.
Oh, wow. Yeah, exactly.
An a-hole human being.
So you are a hole, and you've got your feet on the street. You're a guy who's in our comic shop every week. To the listeners of this podcast who might not know Will, the guest of this podcast, he's been on the other episodes. Will and I did a podcast called The Ted Lasso Bros together with our friend Colette. Will was also on Batman in Quarantine. Whoa. I think I just dinged or something.
That was me. Roman. Sorry, Django was just texting me saying he sent us a voicemail. Nice.
So, like you said, like I said, he's contributing to the podcast at all times in all ways. But Will is an old friend of the family. He's been a friend of mine for a billion years. But as a Wednesday warrior of the last, many years, how are you feeling about Wednesdays right now? How are you feeling about comic flow right now? What's it like to be a reader in a comic shop that is in there with his, feet on the street every Wednesday, sometimes multiple times a week?
I like to actually go in and even take my shoes off. And I don't know if you know this little trick. When you're acclimating, you take your shoes off and you crunch up your toes on the carpet of the place that you just go to, and helps you ease out of that anxiety of going into the comic book store on a Wednesday.
It's the only reason that I keep that carpet clean is knowing that that's going to be coming for you and your feet.
My toes appreciate it quite a bit.
Yep.
I'm feeling really good, honestly. Right, I sent in a voicemail literally last week about how I have an ever-growing stack of backlog comics because I'm still excited, and it's hard for me to hang it up on some books even when it's busy. But there's some great new creators out there that I'm just Dennis Camp, super excited about that guy. Chris Cantwell, there's a lot of comic writers. A couple, like a year or two ago, I was like, are there still good comic writers out there? And the answer is yes.
So I would say if we could part the kimono for our listeners and viewers here about young William Elmer, when you started coming into the shop, pretty Marvel heavy, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And you've certainly evolved and matured as a comic reader in just about every way somebody possibly could. Do you think now you're reading more superhero or like big two books, or more creator-owned books, or like non-big two books?
I just go where the wind takes me.
Mhm.
It's because I would say I follow creative teams, and I specifically follow writers more than I follow, specific characters for the most part.
Yeah.
I will give people a try or listen to recommendations, but I'm almost 100% like, if something is written by a writer that I know and love, I'm getting that book regardless of the character is. And it could be a character that I know and love, but if it's a writer that I don't know or I don't care about, I'm probably not reading that book.
I think that's a really good point. And I think that, like, naturally within comics, a lot of people instinctively kind of ask people, like, are you a Marvel or DC person, or are you a superhero person, or like an indie comics person? And I definitely fall into the camp and encourage people that come into the comic shop to like kind of find writers and artists that they like and gravitate towards their works, which sort of makes the question of like, which is what I was going to, or like, is it kind of a more booming for superheroes or booming for creator-owned stuff right now? But in reality, what it's booming for is great creators, because it just seems like there's a ton of availability for unique and new voices to be telling stories either at the big two or at a different company.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's something to be said when a very strong creator gets to just do something without any confines around them and just do a creator-owned book of some kind. But sometimes that happens with superheroes too. Every once in a while, right, I'm gonna beat Tom King to death with this, like how much I love him, but he gets to do that. Like a lot of times he just gets a random throwaway superhero character and kind of gets to do whatever he wants with them.
Totally.
To the degree that a lot of people get to do with a creator-owned books. And I think that's what I gravitate towards a lot, is something that's not necessarily confined to some deep continuity.
So I actually have direct access to the list, and I see it every week while I'm working on orders for the comic shop. But you have a handful of creators that, like, in your list for subscriptions at the shop, when new books come out, I can automatically subscribe people to things. And there's like 5 or 6 creators that is just like anything by this person. Again, indicative of that, like, following creators in terms of the comic books that you're reading. And like, I've always done that. And that's also partially from being a customer at the comic shop and like talking to Roman and like Roman's eye for creators and his recommendations and stuff. So it is kind of a type of way of thinking about, what books you read. But I forget where I was going with that. But anyway, yeah.
You get to see the writers that I love and then just subscribe.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to ask you, who was the first creator, do you think, that like became the like, because now that you're on my show, I get to our show, Django's not here, because you're on our show, I get to ask you as many questions as I want now, after you being the question baron for hundreds of episodes.
I think the answer to that is relatively easy, but it's actually probably pretty close. I mean, Tom King is actually a pretty close second, I think, but maybe not 100%. It was Donny Cates, though.
Oh,
I think one of the first times I came into the shop and bought some trades, I picked up Thanos Wins, and I thought it was just the absolute most fun thing that I could imagine. Like, this is like, oh, this is so fun and stupid and fun for the sake of being fun, and I absolutely loved it. And it's I think I wanted to read everything from Donny Cates after that, and
you unlocked a bunch of memories for me, but I had forgotten that, because now, I mean, he hasn't released a book in a minute, but now would you feel like you need to get all Donny Cates books?
If he started writing, I mean, if he comes back, which I think hopefully he does sometime in the near future,
Yeah.
and starts writing again, I'm all in. I'm 100% on board. I mean, everyone has some things that they miss. There's one or two things that I read that was like meh, but I'm gonna read it all.
Roman, who do you think was the first creator that you love that like kind of stuck out as a name that you sought out as a creator? I mean, like, it's interesting because you've been reading comics for long enough where like the creators weren't advertised or, you know, addressed very clearly in the comics themselves. It was like just on the credits page, whereas now creators are as much a selling point for comics as, you know, different characters are. So I'm curious, when did you start thinking like that?
For me, it was, because I'm old. For me, it was George Perez and John Byrne.
Tracks.
And Jack Kirby too, a little bit, but I mean that's kind of a given. I mean,
yeah,
that's almost kind of of course, but yeah.
Well, again, I mean, especially nowadays, I think it takes like a particular eye to gravitate towards Kirby because I think he's got kind of a dated style. I don't know, Will. What do you think about Jack Kirby's art?
I've learned to appreciate it.
I think that's a way of describing it. It's a thing that oftentimes we will need to learn to appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, he did Mr. Miracle art, right? Some of that, OG stuff. Yeah, I mean, some of it's really cool. I think I don't know if it's something that I could appreciate right out the gates, but as like, you know, I've gotten deeper into comics and learned to appreciate art, but you know, I'm always a writing first and art second person. So it takes a lot more work for me to be like, oh, I really appreciate this. Like, unless they can really use the art to help with the storytelling, then it's just kind of, you know, Craig Mueller talking about how the way Kirby drew machinery always catches his eye. Like I can see that now, but if I had looked at that, you know, several years ago, I don't think it would have stood out to me.
Well, it's kind of like you mentioned before we were recording, but like, again, you don't know what you don't know, right? So there's so much I think about what can be incredible out comic art for me is like, you know, again, like hearing the Beatles for the first time, it's hard to go back and approach that stuff for like the first time because everything we've heard is influenced by that. But going back and looking at Kirby and seeing those like robotic designs that Craig's talking about, or just like giant celestials and stuff.
I know that if I see a hand reaching for me, that's a Kirby homage of some kind. Thanks to our friend Andrew Carlson for pointing that out to me. That anytime it's happening in a comic, that's a Kirby thing.
And just like the dynamism of like things coming out of the page, right, Roman? Is that who you kind of like associate that originally with, for seeing that with?
Yeah, and Byrne had some of that Kirby influence, definitely in his art, and of course Perez too, with especially his machinery. And I mean, because George Perez would use the Kirby crackle like everywhere for like Starfire's power burst and machinery and all over the place. So yeah, the dynamism, it's hard to say.
Diamonds.
Continued from him. Yeah.
It's called Diamonds, Roman. And
Diamonds. Yeah.
Diamonds is a great way for us, I think, to wrap up that little discussion and segue into our first comic discussion, which Django sort of brought up for us. I think that we should probably talk about Assorted Crisis Events number 8. Before that, I need to go and touch on something, just physically, verbally touch on something that Will brought up, which is the name of Andrew Carlson. And we've just got to give a huge shout out to Andrew Carlson, who every week edits this podcast and gets it up for everybody. So thank you so much, Andrew Carlson. And holy cats, Brian Garside showed up in the chat, and he's realizing that his nemesis, William Elmer, is here.
How dare you? How dare you, Brian Garside?
Oh, wow. It's crazy to get the two of you in a shared space because it gets rough. Man, we get to see Brian Garside for the first time in a long time in a couple weeks, and I'm really glad you're not going to be there, Will, because it always forces me to totally...
Baking soda and vinegar, and it's just going to get explosive in here.
And I have to pick who I align with, who I'm aligned with, and that's always a tough thing.
I don't think it's that tough. I mean, one of us gives you money on a regular basis, the other one doesn't.
You're right. You're right. You're right, but the other one makes really good old fashions. And that's why we're here to talk about Ass Creeve number 8. And that's just the tip of the Ass Creeve cone. Django mentioned it earlier. He had an existential breakdown while reading this comic. It continues to be Dennis Camp and Eric Zawadzki exploring what you can do with comic books, or the kinds of stories that you can tell with comic books. And this one, he tells a story that kind of can only uniquely be told with comic books about the nature of comic books. And so in this, in the way that the Ass Creevers have always been having weird one-off instances of weird reality crashing, experiences in their lives, and each one shot is an exploration of that. This is somebody who's like been a comic artist and like has fallen through the gutters of his life, and that being like the white gutter lines between panels. But he's passing all these like superheroes on the toilet because like superheroes aren't seen pooping on panel, so it has to happen between the panels, so like in the gutter, so that sort of stuff. Anyway, it's for somebody who gets tickled and stitched up by super meta things, I was very impressed by how deep it went into that. I'm curious how you guys felt about that. And also, did you notice that it was on paper stock?
Yeah,
like
newsprint.
like old comic books.
Newsprint, yeah. What do we think about all of that? All of that's been said before. All that's come before us, boys.
Well, I'm going to start.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, you go ahead. No, I insist. Okay, I'll go. I'm going to start backwards, and 10.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, then I'll jump into that Goosey Looser as well and give it a 10.
Yeah, best comic of the week. It was amazing. And there's a part in here. Did you guys have this struggle? There's a part in here where the gutters are taking over, and whatever the main character's name is, I forget. Wally. And he's begging the reader not to turn the page. And
my God.
I really considered, I was like, okay, what if I don't turn the page and don't finish this comic? But that's impossible. I mean,
so guilty. I never felt bad for continuing to read a comic before, but
yeah, because they like absolutely angled to make you feel guilty about it within the book. Like, it was a really interesting usage of the don't flip to the page at the end of this book. There's a monster at the end of the page, whatever this Grover thing is, but to actually like weaponize it against you.
Well, like how small it gets, and like the just the thanks anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So excellently done. Jeez.
But it's an interesting idea, for when the three of us back in, what was it, like 67, when the three of us were sharing that apartment in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco.
That's right.
Good times.
And we were just talking about stuff like this. But
we always talked about that they should put superheroes pooping in comics.
Well, right.
He finally did it.
It's just a pretty incredible metaphor, the pooping in the comics, that is. No, and then like...
Well, do you guys remember in the apartment when that was the origin of Swamp Thing, when it came out of that conversation?
It did. Yep. That was a time. That was a time. I think that Django pointed out the metaphor between that and like homelessness and sort of like falling through the cracks of existence, which I hadn't really thought about the direct like homelessness comparison, but are you guys down with that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I spent a fair amount of time reading this comic saying, like, do I understand what's going on? Okay, I think I know what's going on. Okay, I don't think I know what's going on. Okay, it was definitely a roller coaster from that regards, and that makes it really, really click. I love this comic in general. I don't think I've been able to talk to you a whole ton about just this entire comic in general, but I do think that this is, like, of 2025, this was my favorite comic every week coming out, and I think it's kind of it just reminds me a lot of maybe Day Tripper mixed with Ice Cream Man, and
totally.
I just love how every issue can resonate differently. We read this for the Comics Place book club, and my favorite thing about that, it was like 5 of the first 5 issues, is of everybody in the room, a different issue was their favorite issue, and a different issue.
That's awesome. I wish I had been around to hear that conversation.
So I just thought that was a really cool thing in general. I think this is a comic that you can maybe not this one specifically, because it's deep in like comic book stuff, but a lot of these issues I think you could hand to anybody and say, read this, and they'll be like, holy crap, comics can do this. Definitely a 10. Even if I didn't always know what was going on, it's very much a 10 because it's making me think about it. And that, please don't keep reading this. Brutal.
Yeah, it's got, a real similarity with Ice Cream Man. Just in that it seems like both of those series are exploring and playing with the nature of comic books within their issues. Like they use the issues to be a sort of way to kind of explore exactly what can be done with comics. And that's a feeling that certainly I've gotten from different things in the past, like early Grant Morrison stuff or Hickman stuff, and Alan Moore, but it doesn't come around that often. So I think that it's really cool to get it in here. My last question is for Roman, or you as well, Will, but Roman, do you think this was based on anybody or like was a direct shout out to any particular comic creators? Like his name is similar to Wally Wood. It kind of reminded me of sort of late life Steve Ditko.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe it's just an amalgamation of comic creators that fell on hard times or got screwed over and then fell on hard times because of it. I don't know. Yeah, excellent question. I don't think he looks like anybody particular that I know of.
Yeah. But and it's got little aspects of different stories, like this thing started getting successful when he finally stopped caring, which is like the Stan Lee story with Fantastic Four. Like he finally got to write his own thing because they were just like, yeah, these are dead. I am curious about the change to newsprint. I love it. I wonder, I think I prefer this art, like for this issue on newsprint. It is kind of weird to have it happen halfway through a series.
I think it's just for this specific issue.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure I saw, I don't know where, but I saw something online with this specific issue. I don't think it's going to stick like this. I think it's going to go back to, however it is that they print on modern pages.
Yeah.
Okay. It was specifically for this whole old-fashioned, old-timey comic. But it did make me wonder about how this is going to be presented in a collected edition. If it's completely surrounded, are they still going to pop these pages in on this newsprint and then still have all of the other issues before and after it?
And to have made it just for this single issue, like that's, it seems like it would be important enough for them to then try and make it like that for a collected edition. So I don't know. And then the heartbreaking, like, draw me a picture of love at the very end that is like the opportunity for the reader to do that is.
And I didn't draw shit.
I didn't either, because I'm going to put my copy back on the shelf.
Me too.
Back on the shelf.
And I love, and I love how that serves both the heartbreaking final moment, but also is a throwback to comics in the past decades that were like interactive comics, like, here, have some fun with this, but this one isn't fun.
No.
I like your point about it being heartbreaking because the vast majority, if not everybody, is not going to draw anything in there, and it's just a continued apathy towards his existence, basically, and him being ignored throughout the book. And it's just like, oh well, we're still going to ignore this too.
Cool. Yeah.
Boy, Will, you and wondering about how they're going to reprint this in the graphic novel. And then if they don't do it, if it's too expensive to like have it all in modern paper and then like one issue in the middle that's newsprint, I wonder what that'll do to in the future when this is a back issue.
Right.
If it'll go up in value because everybody's like, I want the newsprint issue.
The first issue became valuable.
My speculation that nobody's going to care about it is that they don't do this when they release it as a trade paperback, but when they release it as a deluxe or something like that, they will.
Yeah. I wouldn't be terribly surprised. Hey, following in the vein of heartbreak and stuff like that, I read something this week that I had read the first issue of, I believe, but it's Everything Dead and Dying #5. I knew that Will had been reading this book and he was going to be on the podcast, so I read it. And Roman, I think you've been reading it, right?
I have not.
Oh,
No.
wow. Okay. Well, this was a bad experiment because then it puts a lot
I think I
of
read the
pressure
first
on Will.
one. I think I read the first one. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, Will, we have a lot of subscribers for this book. And I think that in general, we have a lot of subscribers for books where this guy is the artist. Jacob Phillips.
Oh, yeah.
And that's probably, if I had to guess, related to exposure through Brubaker works.
That Brubaker and Phillips, even though this is Jacob Phillips,
Right.
And not Sean Phillips, but Jacob Phillips has done a lot of stuff as well on the Reckless and whatnot. Yeah, very interesting. Just from the standpoint that I'm drawn to this book because it's Phillips art in general, which I do enjoy, but it's a lot of that is through Brubaker writing, and so
Right.
it's a very good question to be like, am I still going to enjoy Phillips art without Brubaker writing it? And I think overall the answer is yes. So
this is a visually gorgeous issue.
it carries a ton of weight. So as much as I always say I'm writing first and art second, this is a book that is 100% counter to that point of like, oh, I'm invested in this artist to a degree that I'm going to get on this book and give it a read.
Roman would have really liked this series based on this final issue. Roman, this is the type of destitute, emotional angst at the end of a series that you like.
Who's the writer of this?
Tate Bromwell.
Tate.
Yeah, you know them? Okay, Tate Bromwell. Done a couple other things lately, maybe some DC stuff.
I wasn't familiar with them at all, and I picked it up to read it. But Phillips has gotten me on board. Several other people who I wasn't familiar with their work either, like Chris Condon or something like that too. So why the heck not? But yeah, definitely emotionally. So do you guys know? I mean, you read the first issue, but do you know much about like?
This seems like a pretty heartbreaking zombie story.
Yeah, I mean, largely it's there's like a town that's it's the end of the world. It's a zombie apocalypse. There's a town, and a group of survivors kind of stumbles across it, and there's a man that's just kind of living as not a zombie, but everybody else in the town, including his husband and his daughter, are zombies as well. But they're all just kind of going through the motions and living their lives, and he's kind of got this duality that he's living kind of still somewhat experiencing his family and can see them for who they used to be, and they'll go through the motions every day. They'll get up and they'll sit at the table together, and they'll do their chores, and keeps the town running, and he keeps them fed so that they don't get hungry and they're not doing anything else. So they're just base instinct to whatever, get up and go to work. It just kind of kicks in. And he's just living his life. And then some survivors show up and they're like, oh my God, we got to kill all the zombies, including his family, which ultimately, kind of comes to a crescendo in this final issue here with, heartbreaking when he had to, spoiler, shoot his own daughter.
Yeah.
At the end of it too.
Yeah. But the way that they convey that through this by doing like flashbacks interspersed throughout moments, and you're splicing between the two of them, makes that kind of their reverence for the shells of what they once were make, sense to them. Craig Mueller pointed out that Tate Bromwell did Batgirl. I looked it up. They also did Justice League, or not Justice League, but Green Lantern Dark, which has been coming out. So for DC. So yeah, they've done DC stuff, but this is, as far as I know, their first big creator-owned horror-y thing. It's interesting as well that the color is really beautiful. Is the colorist? What do we know about the colorist? Pip Martin. Nothing. So we don't. It's not necessarily somebody that does the Brubaker coloring as well.
Right, a lot of times Jacob Phillips will do the coloring, on Reckless, and this coloring looks very similar to Jacob Phillips coloring. So
yeah, that's what it could have even been the same in my mind. But the art has a quality that looks a bit like Charlie Adler's. So there's, as you're reading this, it feels a little bit like Walking Dead as I was going through it, but a nice, more colorful version. of it. I gave it a pretty good score for a book that I just dropped in on the final issue of. Roman, I do think that you would like it because it's got the existential dreads that you're about.
All right, I'll read the trade. I didn't know it was only 5 issues.
I wasn't quite sure when I got into it, but by the end of that issue, I was aware. So then, Will, what do you give it? What's your Williams score? What's the Skilly?
Let's give it a 9.5.
Okay. Heck yeah. I'm going to give it a 9. The art was absolutely gorgeous, fascious. Roman, can you tell me about Galactic Slam, please? And, Will, did you read Galactic Slam?
I did not. I wish I did.
DCKO. So it's an interesting week of comics. Marvel kind of kickstarted a handful of new series. We had Psylocke #1, Rogue #1, and Glorious X-Force #1. DC largely kind of quiet. Usually their big stuff has been related to DCKO. There was only one DCKO release this book, and it was DCKO Galactic Slam, which features a character that I've never heard of, and I was excited to hear if Roman had any idea who this person was.
I assume you're talking about Omega Bam Man.
Oh, you bet I am. Will, listen to this. Omega Bam Man fans are excited.
Bam Man?
Omega Bam Man.
Bam Man.
Kind of a combination of, I don't know, I guess the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and a little Hulk Hogan in there, and some other guys. Like Kyle Rayner ends up taking on his own wrestling persona, and he's doing little Shawn Michaels Heartbreak Kid poses and things.
Oh, wow.
Who did we say wrote this? What? Who wrote this?
Oh, sorry. Who wrote this? Jeremy Adams.
Huh. He's been writing Green Lantern stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt that. It made me think it must have been Daniel Warren Johnson or something.
Maybe he's been writing Aquaman.
Yeah, you would think, and I kind of wish. And this was fine, but I wish it had been Daniel Warren Johnson. As far as I know, this is a whole new character, Omega Bam Man. No. And I think his story's gonna continue in Green Lantern. But I think the only reason this comic exists and this character exists is because they're tying into some crossovers with AEW.
Okay.
The wrestling.
Well, listen, his first appearance in Flash 787 in December 2022 would have something to say about that. But I did think he was an older character, but no, I guess he's in the last 2 years. But your AEW instinct is smart because they've been doing AEW linked up stuff for a couple years. I wonder if this character was. Yeah, I don't know. He looks really dumb though. So was it a good issue?
I like the character. He is just a big old
demo,
super tough braggart, goofball, but a good guy. It wasn't that great of a story. I mean, I gotta admit, there's parts of it. It's long too. There's parts of it that I kind of skipped over because I was getting bored. There's some wrestling things going on, and they gotta fight some other dudes. But I really like Omega Bam Man. One of the things he always works bro into his speech patterns, but it's always things like Bromega.
Okay.
And it's not just bro, it's always bro something. So that's fun.
Django would like that, I bet.
Yeah, there's some wrestling. For some reason, Kyle Rayner's Shawn Michaels thing, he has a luchador mask and a cape too.
Did it move DCKO as a whole forward in any way?
I couldn't tell you why this was important to KO and what it had to do with it exactly. I mean, the cover says it's Kyle Rayner brings the reinforcements. I don't know reinforcements to do what. I don't know.
Will is the great.
I bet it moved the AEW crossover forward.
Yeah. Will, I bet that we do see like a Justice League AEW miniseries that sells very, very poorly.
I wonder, and maybe this is just from growing up watching professional wrestling, and they used to do this all the time. It's like, would they do this in 2026? when this comic AEW DC crossover is kind of ending or concluding, is the debut of Omega Bandman in AEW as a professional wrestler, because I could see that happening.
Yeah, totally. And then, that Flash 787 from 2022 is going to be real valuable. Oh my gosh, will they do a live real version of it? Maybe they've already casted him. He's training, in real life.
They've got this 2 issues coming up in February, the DC X, and I guess that means end AEW.
Oh, very hot. All right, well, what was your score for this, Hot Lava?
Oh man. I give that character, I give him like a 9, but I give this issue, I don't know, like a 6.
Okay. I don't mean to Will, I invited you over to my home and I decorated it and I wanted to have a really nice fancy time, and I kind of wish that it was sort of a more exciting week of comics to have you over.
Well, thanks for decorating. I love the guitars.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I shred.
I guess you're not wrong. We still have some good comics this week.
Okay. Well, in the interest of full disclosure, let's talk about one that we read that maybe wasn't so amazing.
Ooh,
did you read Inglorious X-Force?
I did.
Yeah. So Inglorious X-Force #1 came out this week. Will, you're at your core an X-boy, right?
Yes. That's such a we've had this
purest, most core.
At the beginning of it all, at the dawn of my love of comics, is X-Men '94, right?
Right.
So many people grew up on. So yeah, if you ask me, do I like the X-Men? I'm like, hell yeah. But do I read any X-Men comics regularly? No. I don't.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to answer that question, but I read this and it was a comic.
Yeah, let's take a look at this thing. Hey Roman, did you read Inglorious X-Force?
I only flipped through it looking for pages with the Dakin Wolverine Ghost Rider because I like that character.
Yeah, you like that character? What do you like about him?
He's got a flaming adamantium skull.
That's pretty good.
Enough said.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty awesome.
I'll say something nice. I didn't hate, if we're just talking about the meat of the comic itself, I didn't necessarily hate the overall kind of arc of the story of Kamala Khan is going to be the first mutant human president of the United States. And we know that this is some mystery in the future, and Cable is back here in time. And these three.
Oh no,
Will's frozen.
Rose. That's just how it goes here on the Perfectly Acceptable podcast. Sometimes we, I, and us can all freeze, but that doesn't mean the fun has to stop. What he was going to say is that Kamala Khan, we learn from Cable, is going to become the first mutant president in the future. So he is back here, and he has to keep her safe, protected, and trained up. So this is Cable gathering a team of, hey, Will's back. Oh, hey, Will. Hey, this is Cable gathering the team to keep Kamala, safe and kind of educated or whatever moving forward. So it's just I guess kind of like what he did for Hope. I just realized the Hope connection, which is sort of he raised her alone in the future, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of okay. But
yeah. So is this current regular Marvel continuity, or is this still an alternate future thing?
I mean, you look at it, Roman. Look at that cover. You got Cable, and you got Helverine, and you got Archangel, and you got the lady with the hands. That looks pretty current, right?
I would think so. So it's not part of the whole Age of Revelations and all that.
No, that's done. We're back in regular X-Men territory, which is good because that Age of Revelation scared me, and I think a lot of other readers off.
Oh yeah. I didn't read any of it.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Will. I don't think at its bones it was terrible, actually. Like, the writing wasn't terrible. I think the twist of, I was like 2/3 of the way through it, and I was like, well, what is this? Like, what is this story gonna be? And then the twist of Kamala Khan comes, and you're like, okay, like, this makes sense.
He's watching because one of the three of these is going to be the person that assassinates her.
Yes, we also learned that somebody in the crew.
I don't know what you guys said when I disappeared into the ether for a minute, but yeah, that's the mystery, right? Is one of these three people that he's keeping close on his X-Force is going to be the traitor that kills her when she assassinates her when she's the president, and so it's his job to figure out which one of them it is.
Seems like if they know all that other stuff, they could just tell him.
They could. But
maybe
you're only allowed to send riddles backwards in time. You're not.
Okay. Archangel. Hey, Archangel, a disciple of Apocalypse, might kill Kamala Khan, just so you know. Or Helverine, who's got hell in the title of his flaming claw name.
You know, I know who those two characters are, and I don't know who Boom Boom is. So it's also possible that
Boom Boom might be
Boom Boom, the famous assassin of the president, Boom Boom.
She was one of the second team of New Mutants back in the day.
The new mutants, mutants.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody on this cover, it just occurred to me, I think they've all, except for maybe Cable, have been killed and resurrected. I mean, other than usual resurrections in X-Men.
Krakoa?
Yeah. Well, other than the Krakoa stuff, I mean, before that.
Oh, I don't know about that. Now you got different types of resurrection, like I do always love Archangel because of that X-Men 94 animated show. God, that costume was so cool. The pink and the blue and the steel wings.
And I didn't know he could just change back and forth now. So
that's good to know as well. Yeah.
That was a new thing. And I will say, look, I feel like I tried to read the Helverine series that came out recently, and I don't know. I read one issue, maybe. I don't think I knew that it was Dakin.
Bad.
How you mean? Dakin? Well, there's a reason I only read.
I'm just kidding. I haven't read it. It's probably great.
No, all I want to say though is that this Helverine character much better use of Dakin than Dakin himself because he's boring.
Yeah, he can vary from thing to thing for sure. I give Inglorious X-Force a 7.5. And Django, you're going to need to be frantically at home entering these scores on CSA because I'm not doing that amount of legwork.
I'm a 7.5 as well.
Aaron mentioned or asked, isn't Shadows of Tomorrow the attempt to prevent that crappy future brought on by Revelation? It's confusing. Yeah. I don't know exactly what the mission statement of the new thing is, but it is after Age of Revelation. So that is done. I hope it's them averting Age of Revelation because that was not a thing we want to go back to storytelling wise. William, Roman, can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah,
sure. Shoot.
Do you think at some point here in this very exciting Fantastic Four book, we're actually going to see this evil Fantastic Sue Storm that they keep teasing on covers? We're on part 2 of this story and we haven't seen Malice yet, but she's on covers for this issue and the last cover.
It says at the end of this issue, next, and there's a picture of her. So surely, Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, the covers of the last 2 issues would also make me think that, but I don't know much about her, but I'm really excited.
Is this is Sue Storm, right? This is
Well, Roman, will you tell the listeners and myself and William about who she is and what her story is? Because I have a pretty big Sue Storm kink.
That's
big fan.
Who doesn't? Well, that's now actually from going back to John Byrne, I mentioned earlier, that was something that happened during John Byrne's run, is that Malice was created, and Malice is Sue's dark side, and I actually can't remember how that dark side came out, why she became Malice for like one issue back then. I have no idea. I can't remember what triggered it, but it is Sue Storm Richards.
Yeah, and then like get rid of it, but then it comes back at some other point that was like still inside of her, but there hasn't been too much of her.
No, I can think of like maybe 2 appearances
Yeah.
in the last, I don't know, 40 years.
I would hope we get some more of her. I'm just excited to see her in this story arc, which this is issue 2 of this story arc. This one largely took place on Earth, right? Whereas the first one was the other side of the crew. And yeah, you know, the cliffhanger of the previous issue was that they had encountered a message from Galactus that was saying you got to find Sue Storm. So they're like, all right, cool, we got to go find Galactus. But with us leaving Galactus or leaving to find Galactus, other people might know about it. We got to keep Earth safe, so the kids are going to keep it safe, and all of the Fantastic Four's buddies are also going to help keep the kids safe with it as well. But I thought it was a pretty. At the end of the day, it was just kind of a heartwarming buddy story about the Fantastic Four extended family. What did you guys think of this?
I will say this finally, I think one of my criticisms of the Fantastic Four over at least the last few years that I've kind of dipped in and out and read the Hickman stuff is that I have always felt like they should have CPS called on them because they're always constantly putting their kids in danger. And this time, you know, blessings to Ryan North for listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And just being like, you know what? They're right. They're right. We're going to make them responsible parents and really make sure that we've got superheroes here set to protect them. Not only that, we got superheroes, but also we've got a secret little deal with some villains also to come in and save the children. And it worked out nicely. And it was a fun little, you know, it moves. That's what I love about these issues of Ryan North's Fantastic Four in general, is they're kind of these, he does a really good, exceptional job of making the single issue thing work where you could just pick this up and read it.
Mm-hmm.
It advances the story, but it's also a little contained single issue at the same time.
Really yeah, he's pretty incredible at doing it. Actually, when we were at the Eisners and we encountered him, we were talking to him, he did specifically ask, you know, what do the readers think? And I was like, well, Will Elmer, realtor. And he was like, oh, Will Elmer, Idris Elba, butthole aficionado. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I was like, he's a little bit upset by the reckless parenting decisions that you make. So I think this is probably a response to that direct conversation. So if he didn't mention you in the letters pages, I would expect that at some point.
You know, I didn't read it, but I'm gonna spend the rest of my time while we listen to Roman reading the letters pages and see if I mentioned it here.
Wasn't it cute, Roman, just to see like all of the lives the Fantastic Four have touched? I especially loved the Thing, you know, and like the villains showing up, the way that he, like, even like the villains that they've beaten up have got enough respect and appreciation for the Fantastic Four that they're like, yeah, we'll keep an eye on your kids while you're gone.
Yeah, I really like that. And that Ben had made a connection with some of these villains that are villains, but they aren't that bad. I mean, they don't try to kill people and that kind of thing. It did seem a little funny that, I guess, this must be happening when Peter Parker's still off in space, because I was thinking, he was on the team. Why didn't they contact Peter? But I guess that's why. Yeah. I was really glad to see Wyatt Wingfoot, because back in the day, he used to be the FF all the time because he was Johnny Storm's old college roommate. And I'm glad to see North bring him back. I feel like it's been a while since we saw him.
Yeah, I've only really heard Wyatt Wingfoot mentioned around you, so that's a thing.
Yeah. You know, one bit of trivia, the Mad Thinker is having a little monologue to himself, which I guess is the only way you do a monologue. But he mentions his real name, and I totally forgot the Mad Thinker's name if I ever knew it, and that he's French. I didn't know he was French.
Oui.
Yeah.
Well, Will, what do you think of the Ramos art and how it compares to the art in the previous volume of this series? Same writer.
You know, when I was reading it, I was like, there are parts of it where I don't love the art as much, but because Ryan North is amazing for having long-running series that get rebooted halfway through and have another number one. I at least appreciate the fact, and so are they going to hold on to it and have Ramos as the consistent artist through the majority of it? If so, then great, I'm happy. but I think that was the roller coaster of the first half of Ryan North's run. Is I don't think we ever made it more than like 3 or 4 issues
At a
with
time with this,
the same artist, and so it was constantly changing, and that I think that takes me out of it a little bit more.
It's fortunate that it's got such an episodic one-shot nature to the stories, which I think is a bit more conducive for changing artists, right? Like when you're, following artists changing in an issue that takes place over, a small amount of time, it's very jarring to be like, wait, you were just drawn like this on the other page. So yeah, at least the episodic thing works in its favor. But yeah, I totally agree. That would have been my biggest criticism about the original stuff. So yeah, we're 7 issues in, and has Ramos done all of them?
I think so.
Okay.
But I can't say that with absolute certainty.
Yeah, he can get a book in on time. I tell you what. Fantastic Four number 7, I give you a 9. And I'd probably go a little bit higher if I like the art a little bit
more. Roman, do you have a score?
Rome Dog.
I'll give an 8.5 because I really don't like Ramos's art.
Right.
And I hate Johnny's mustache and wish they'd get rid of it.
Muchacho.
It's not going away. In fact, I'm thinking about growing one myself, Roman.
Well, you will look great because it's dark.
Is actually one of the things that I did actually say to Ryan North was that we love the mustache, and like people that don't like it don't get it. And he's like, yeah, it's a great way of just like when you meet somebody, like if it's a fan, if they like come up and complain about the mustache, you immediately know they're like, okay, I don't really need to worry about what this person is saying.
Yeah.
Blonde mustaches like that just look creepy.
It does. Yeah, he looks.
I'll meet you guys in the middle on the score and 8.75. I don't love the Ramos art necessarily, unless it's just consistent, that I'm fine. But I do love the mustache. So
okay. Roman, did you score it?
He did.
Yes. Okay,
He did.
Good. I was too busy thinking about how I wanted to segue into Captain America number 6, a book that I think both of you read.
I did read.
I'm just curious what that big comment there from somebody is. It's
James Burke made a big long one, but it doesn't show me the whole thing because it's so long.
I can't see the top of it.
Yeah.
And the first rule of book club is we actually do talk about book club. Because we want more people to come to it.
More people to come to the book club. Hey,
but Tyler Durden, yes, I am Django's Tyler Durden.
And Chris Gaines as well. There is, I think, something large brewing in the Marvel Universe as a whole, and I think it begins in Chip Zdarsky's Captain America book. Can you guys confirm what's going on with this, Roman?
Sorry, I was trying to make out James's thing. What'd you ask?
You got a podcast to do, buddy. I feel like big stuff is brewing in the Marvel Universe, and it comes down to this series. He's going to be writing the huge Marvel event that is being teased in pages right now, and I believe that it kind of says that it's being brought back to Captain America. Have you been reading this? Have you been liking it? And does it feel like something large is coming in here?
I've been reading this Captain America, and I don't think I would say it's been leading into this necessarily, because this issue is the start of a new arc, and the first 5 issues before this was kind of, I don't know if it was a retcon or what, but it's kind of Captain America's coming back, and there was the kid who witnessed September 11th and then went to the war and was a super soldier, and it was like the Iraq War, and Captain America was like joining him for that. So that was like backwards in time, and now this is like modern continuity and flash forward, and they make reference to his time with that kid Colton being another Captain America, but that's about it. And now we're just like in a new story in more current present.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen some other teased Marvel thing that's coming that seems like it's starting in Captain America, but
it could be. I mean, this new story, this issue, it takes place after Avengers 750 and after Dungeons of Doom.
Okay.
And it ties into the Dungeons of Doom stuff.
Well, yeah, what's going on in it? What's this new arc about? We got Red Hulk in here. That always kind of turns me off, guys.
Yeah, because Red Hulk Doom had him captive in the in his dungeon. And now he's out, and he wants to spearhead the America going in and claiming Latveria. Oh, that sounds familiar.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So America can run it correctly and bring it democracy and everything. And Captain America is at odds with that because Tony Stark and Sam Wilson are talking to Steve about going in and not trying to force America on the Latverian people, but to wrangle Doom's weapons and stuff and try and just make things, hopefully make things go along well there and let Latverians rule themselves.
Cap
Does that
is
sound right,
kind of
Will?
Cap is kind of torn between two different agendas on how to handle the post-war Latveria to prevent it from just falling into the next dictator. There's some modern ties to some of the story there, but he's pulled between Nick Fury, and General Ross, who's back in the White House. Very much in this comic in general, the characters are very. You're just watching Sam Jackson and Robert Downey Jr. and stuff in the pages, but yeah. So he's kind of torn. He feels like he's being maybe used by Nick Fury, and then
As you do.
but also isn't really that excited to do what General Ross wants him to do. And it basically ends with, Cap deciding to go with Nick Fury reluctantly, and shows up in that area and is confronted by the Red Hulk that basically says that Cap needs to stand down or Hulk's gonna smash him.
As you, yeah.
As he would.
I'm thinking of Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon. That's written by Zdarsky. That might be leading into Armageddon. Yeah, Weapons of Armageddon leads into Armageddon. Yeah. Okay.
No.
Sorry. So many things to keep track of. Where Marvel, I want them to release something that I get really excited about. So we can do that. So Roman, what's your score for it?
I give it an 8.
All right, an 8.
I like it's text heavy, and I like the conversations and arguments he has with people.
Okay, all right. Will?
Yeah, on a similar wavelength. I might go 8.5 overall. I generally I'm into kind of these type of Captain America books where there is some talking and kind of some espionage stuff going on and nobody trusts anybody. I'm into that.
As a student of the Brubaker School of Captain America, I can see that.
I'm a big Winter Soldier fan, so I'm in.
And we sold out of one of the early issues of this series, and the subsequent issue came out while I was in Japan, so I was just never able to get back on. So I just need to sit down and read a chunk of these, which is what I'm doing right now with Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees Rites of Spring, because last week Roman spoke so highly of it that I finished the podcast and read the first handful of issues from that. So I'm excited to be caught up in time for issue 6.
I think this is actually a really good jumping on issue. I think if you don't feel like catching up, you can just start here and be fine because of that time jump. I mean, it might be relevant again. The other Captain America kid from the Iraq War might come relevant again, but I
think he would. They made such a big thing about him at the beginning.
Yeah, I think just jump on here and go for it.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys, listen, we spent some time getting to hang out with Will at the beginning of this thing. We're at our hour. Rather than fumble with this tech equipment more, I'm just going to say I feel good about packing it in for the week. Will, I don't know what's coming out next week, but I'm going to say right now you've got a soft invitation to return next week to fill in for Django, but also you're never pressured. I shouldn't have done that on the air. So I will move on to a point of conversation that's important, which is everybody should send us emails. Jeff@thecomicsplace.com, like William brought up. William, who I'm trying to slow play make Bill a thing.
William.
He's never acknowledged it, which makes me think he really doesn't like it. It works with the mustache.
There's some ingrained, childhood related issues that come along.
Okay. That's a Billy mustache. But thank you so much for being on the podcast. Will stepping in, always a great excuse to get to hang out with you. I mean, if anything, a podcast is just the way that I can make sure I get to see my friends in a world where I think we all probably work too much and don't schedule social things. So thanks for being my buddy this week, Will.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. This is always a pleasure.
Roman, thank you this week for being my buddy.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, William, for being my buddies.
Yeah, and after this finishes, I'm going to go join a celebration of people celebrating, the Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. That's happening. That's pretty exciting stuff. Spoilers, everybody. We didn't just spoil your comics. We spoiled your NFL season.
Jeff, I got a surprise for you. I got you Seahawks tickets to the Super Bowl here.
Oh, dang. You got me tickets to go see the Super Bowl?
At my house.
At your house. Okay. All right. Slightly different prospect. Still exciting. Not opposed to it at all. Probably shouldn't have done it on air. No, I'm just kidding. All right, everybody.
I should ask my wife first.
Thank you, Andrew, again for editing this. Thank you for everybody for checking it out. Again, if you're just listening, you can check it out on the YouTube feed to Comics Place YouTube channel. It's there. Comics Place. Perfectly Acceptable Podcast. All those things should get you there. You can also be streaming it live with us on Facebook, which a handful of you are doing. We appreciate that. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for everybody who hangs out. If you enjoyed this, you should tell somebody else about it. We're excited for Django to come back. We'll see him soon. Roman, beautiful. William, over the moon. Any last shout outs?
Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
It's a great sign out. Roman?
I'm speechless. I can't. Will's is so beautiful.
It is, and I'm not even gonna try to like music, and it's just bye.
Bye.